Okay, what would I be looking for or expecting in terms of a response when servants are asked anything about Donald Trump or Mike Pence and the presidency? Um, People who sort of laugh and think that is funny and sort of are, Trump like you're behind and things like that, I would find actually less cognitively impaired than people who actually believe that they are a presidential party. Um, because if they think that that's funny, they can reason that, Trump Pence and just sort of the very odd things that have been going on and are in some sort of a spirit sort of stream that is helping to comfort them or keep them calm or beginning a process of learning into this lesson that we're in. Um, People trying to discern uh, if people are in some sort of a mindset where they actually know that the system is fake, is false, but they accept that and feel that you sort of go along with that like a game, and that certain people are peasants and certain people are not. That to me is people that are having an issue with their cognition, and they are either extremely grandiose or, as some say, are stuck in some sort of a previous where that sort of morality is okay. Because in this day and age, after the generations of being brought up in this fake country, that was not even a concept here. And if you know that the system is fake and that it is sort of these elite people that are running it, and you are kind of going along with that, um, I would want to interview that person more and, ask questions about their morality and things like, should people pay for food? And, sort of get into asking them why that is. Listen to their response. Try not to be sort of just saying, well, no, they don't pay for food, but sort of easing into um, questions that would lead them to have to sort of think about whether or not that's right or wrong. Now, if they're people that are in some sort of a religion or a doctrine or a church, and they refer to the Holy Bible, that can actually be helpful in terms of if that is their guide as to their morality of right and wrong. Um, what is actually God saying in that book in terms of that? Um, some people have issues where they want to be oppositional all of the time. And so their responses and their morality sort of go back and forth. Like if they, I have found that if you, when you ask a question, um, and a person is sort of thinking about it for a very long time, sometimes um, they they sort of they know that they're I guess lying. I'm basing this upon interviews that I've numerous interviews with Victoria that became um, to the point where you could not actually even speak to her anymore, and that if she was just doing that on purpose in order to have arguments, or if she actually really believed those things. But given her environment, she clearly has some sort of an issue, whether or not it's cognition or it's emotional, but something severe is going on because a person would not, in a healthy state of mind, choose to live in clutter and filth. Um, so, in terms of questions, um, I really sort of like the question of should people pay for food? And sort of get into that, and you can get a really good idea of a person's morality and their thinking process, and if they are grandiose. Responses like, um, if you are a farmer and you are farming food, and that you are sort of if you share that food, that you are sort of doing some sort of uh, some sort of a charity, as if you're a good person. Um, that to me is delusional, because no person actually owns any land here, and no person creates food. And how would you actually be thinking that you were the owner of that food in which to be doing a charity where you're sharing it? Um, so, even right down to that, um, I'm not sure if that had an impact on her or not, that series of conversations, but it does give a pretty good assessment into a person's actual thoughts and ideas about themselves and other people. Um, when you are in the United States of America, where it's accepted and taught that people own things and they own land and all of that in the system, and then other people come along and say, um, we don't have to do this system anymore, and you sort of are like, yay, yay. You do not actually believe in that system. Now, when you don't have that reaction, and you sort of say and think that people are crazy, and what are you talking about, no money and no ownership and all of that, that that to me is sort of gives an idea of a person's previous, and a grandiose sort of elitist belief system, if that makes any sense. Some people that were living here were just living here under this rule that we believed that we had to live under. And some people seem to actually believe that. Um, so, in terms of a revelation that can occur, uh, say in 2011, is finding out things about people's belief systems and minds that we weren't really aware of before. Um, so, in terms of the media and questions, uh, I'm not really understanding why certain questions are not being posed. Now, is that the media people themselves that are working there are, are cognitively impaired? Or are they sort of worried that when outright questions and topics like that are discussed, that they won't be able to be on the television anymore? Um, Russell Brand was on one of the late night television shows, um, explaining how when you are asked to just stop using a monetary system, okay, that actually does not destroy your world as it is, other than people not being forced to work. Um, even sort of the compromise of, okay, well, how about if we just don't have money, and we sort of transition out of this, um, that no one even said that you had to just not be on television, or doing news or doing jokes and all of that. Um, it's simply a freeing of the people who are in a situation they don't want to be in. Um, so I guess I would assume that something like that is going on with the people that are actually working and broadcasting this propaganda news to us. Um, no amount of money that any person could print out would get me to go on television and just interview nonsense. I would never do that. So, something has to be going on within those people, that they either haven't started asking questions like that and were either fired, or they just quit because they refuse to do that. Um, so I, I don't like to say but um, I felt that I was directed to try, by Almighty God, not I'm in a theater, okay, to try to contact some of these people on the social medias, and being repeatedly shut down. I mean, I'm at a point now where I can't Facebook and I can't tweet. And often I'm not even allowed to have an email address. Um, is it seeming that they are being sort of harassed by a mentally ill person who is asking these questions about what's going on with the system, and should we be using money, and all of those things that were typed? Um, I spent a week in an actual mental hospital and was evaluated by a team of psychiatrists. And the diagnosis is post traumatic stress disorder. Okay? Um, Not I'm quote unquote schizophrenic or bipolar or anything like that. So, to me, I guess I'm wondering, What is it about me that is frightening people so much that these communication shutdowns are going on? Um, is it because you cannot answer why all of these things have happened to me? Um, if you're actually in the government system and you can't explain that, should you be sort of frightened of me and shutting me down? Or, you know, sort of listening to, hello, um, Almighty God has asked me to convey to you messages as to, what is going on here, and explain to you that you are in a lesson that is coming to an end. Um, that your sort of idea of reality was a delusion that was set up in order to teach you a lesson um, about living. That before the people from Europe, as you're calling it, came here, okay, people were living here that had already completed a certain lesson. And we had no government, and we had no monetary system, and we did not build cities and buildings because we had already learned that over in the other land pieces, and that system does not work in terms of everlasting life and happiness and health. Um, so, I mean, I guess if you thought, okay, Mary, we get it. Now go away and leave us alone, okay? Should you be leaving Mary just rotting in a room, knowing that the government will not provide to her a means to live? So, if you don't want to come out of the lesson, okay, why would you not just house me and end this? Um, why would Almighty God be allowing this to be going on? Um, you're not sort of getting in your mind the water supply and the food supply, and that maybe he is trying to tell you that you have to end this. You have to end this system before you become ill. Um, you, I think, in terms of when you get to a point where you are thinking or saying that Mary is in a coma because all of the other excuses have run out, um, is that a point of realizing that you're in a serious denial? That even if I was in a coma, why would you not do anything to relieve that? And Why would you yourselves not be concerned that that could ever happen to you? That if you think it's the government doing it, that the government just decided, okay, this person is the new Osama bin Laden, and we're going to call her ISIS, and we're going to just cut off any benefit and leave her just rotting in a room or various homeless shelters as she goes increasingly stressed out. And what's with all this typing and the response being to just shut me down? um, that to me is a definite denial as to not asking why. Why would all of that be happening? And why would this servant, and probably more than one servant, be given um, pages of science in connection with God's holy Bible to sort of it, try to help you see that God is real and that you're supposed to follow His book. And why would you keep shutting me down? It, it's sort of, it's irrational to me, in terms of, if you want me to leave you alone, then relieve the suffering. Okay? If you're getting bothered by how is this person in a room for 6.5 years just typing, and it's like you can tell that the emotional stress is immense, and having tremors and things like that because of the severe stress that she's under. Why would you not relieve that and be like, okay, shut it down and leave us alone? Um, that is not actually going to work in terms of your own salvation. Sorry to say, because God is aware that I'm here. And it doesn't matter how much you shut off my communications. He knows that you know I'm here. And this continual, it's somebody else's problem to take care of, or how is she not in a hospital? I was in a hospital. I put myself in a hospital. Okay? I was in a shelter. I applied for all of those forms. I've explained this over and over again. So, if you can't get yourself to provide housing and a stipend, how are you not asking yourself why that is? That would be like if I couldn't uh, make a pot of coffee. I would begin to wonder why I couldn't make a pot of coffee. I don't think I would just all of a sudden decide I don't drink coffee and just walk past the coffee machine and drink water. Um, so I started off with the media, but it's all kind of the same thing, where they ignored uh, these foreclosures and this Occupy, and it's just anything that happens, they ignore. And when you are on the internet and making up jokes, and then all of a sudden it's on the television, that to me indicates that you can see what I am writing to you, okay? And that you are not alleviating my suffering. You are not even inquiring to anyone why that's going on. And you are using material as if I am a circus act for you. So, I would have to assume that that is an issue with your cognition, because otherwise, how could anyone be that mentally deranged and uncaring to be doing that? So, when you know that you are having a cognitive problem, okay, should you continue working in the news field? Is that something that you should be doing? When you went into journalism, okay, I'm assuming that you at least have an associate's degree in communications. Did you not believe in the First Amendment? Okay, did you go into journalism because you wanted to provide news to people, or because you thought that that was a way to be a celebrity and make money? That would be something I would ask, because trying to get you to think about your moral beliefs in your younger years, and how that is reflective now in your life, if that's changed, because that's an indicator that something is going on with your cognition. It's not just forgetting things, okay? It's not just you put your keys in the microwave. It's that you can become sort of mentally deranged, where you don't care about anyone, and you can become very sadist and harmful to others. So if you refuse to believe that you are having an issue with your cognition, so try, if we're going to keep a media going, can we at least have people in there that are not cognitively impaired? And how do we make that happen? Because funnies and things are one thing, but we still have an issue with suffering here. So, in order to go into let's just be funny and help people that are getting ready to pass on to another assignment, doing that while you have mass suicides going on, and people flipping out and trying to shoot police officers, and people online and people screaming in rooms and things like that, that is very sadist and psychopathic. So there has to be some level of that going on with these people that are running the media, um, to not sort of be like Jill was, just about everyone in general. Like, we have to do something about this, and see maybe a little bit um, hysterical, because if it was only a joke, I wouldn't be visiting a homeless shelter and seeing people nodding off, and just things. I'm not going to get into their privacy, but everyone is not just having a good time here. And is it not wanting that to happen. um, I would love to discuss with you people in the media, okay, your personal lives, or who you think you might have been in another time, and things like that. Um, in turn, and also sort of, what you wanted to be when you grew up, and things like that, and helping you to understand um, that you could be harming people, and that you may not actually want to be doing that. Okay? there has to be some sort of a happy medium between not putting people into some sort of undue worry and we're all going to die, and getting people to stop using money and stop charging for rent and stop. If you're working for HUD and you're not giving out housing, you need to stop working for HUD. Because if you were a, some call enlightened servant, and you were just going to work, that was your excuse for working, that you were going to just give everyone housing because you hate this system and you're not going to do this to other people, I wouldn't be sitting here. Okay? So if you're working for housing in any of the towns in which I applied, you need to stop working for housing because I clearly qualify for emergency housing. And that did not happen, and it still not has happened. And it's been 6 or 7 months now. It's been, actually, it's been a year, and that hasn't happened. It's not an issue of availability, as that was revealed, because a woman who owns a home and has caretakers was offered immediate housing right in this very town. As I sit here, and a man is here 10 years on a housing list. So you people are having severe cognitive issues, and that could be causing you to become very sadist. And that could be harming your children. I don't know what's going on in your homes, what your speech is like. But when you think that you are sort of going to teach Mary a lesson, or we're not going to give housing to that bitch, or she needs to talk to us in a different manner, okay? You are reflecting that onto the people around you, not just Mary, okay? You are acting that way towards your children and your spouses and your siblings, okay? And you may not realize it because that is something going on with your cognition, in which in your mind you're not realizing that you're behaving that way. Okay, those are the types of dialogues that need to be taking place. I don't know if we can get actual psychiatrists to be somehow applying for housing or going in there and speaking to these people, and then maybe writing them up a report. Because from my experience, even their families cannot get them to a psych evaluation. Okay? Some of them go into everyone around them is crazy, no matter how many people around them are speaking in the same voice. Everyone around them is crazy. So, I guess that's my message to the media, that why would you not answer direct questions from a quote-unquote U.S. citizen, okay, that has had these things happen, and if that's reporting news, okay? Did you begin doing that knowing that you were working for a government-run news media, okay? And then would you report what the actual government was doing? Or did you morph into something else where now you yourselves actually think you're running a country? Because some of the statements and the comments indicate that to me, where you can destroy a president, you can destroy leaders because you have a propaganda machine. And if a president tweets something about you, that you can then use that propaganda machine to run continually 24 hours a day things about him to convince the populace he needs to be impeached. This is not exactly about impeachment, okay? This is about you and what's going on in your lives and your cognition. Okay? Um, I guess that's about it. I mean, impeach whom? We already had a very mentally ill man and woman being the photos for the presidency, who had some very obviously delusional things to say to us. And that ended, and then we were presented with trumpets, which is supposed to indicate to people to sit, that you're supposed to be reading the Bible and realizing that the end of this is all coming. And we're sort of just continually running with that now and acting as if it's an actual presidency going on. That is going to cause confusion within the military and within the police force and within the populace as to what's going on. And I don't find that to be a good thing. So, if you people working in the media have not had a psychological evaluation by a psychiatrist that is a medical doctor, I would ask you to please do that, for the sake of yourself and your families and your children. Okay? Thank you.